Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. In today's video, we are going to be talking about my 2023 planning system. So we're going to be talking about the tools and systems that I plan to put in place to stay organized and planned in the year of 2023. So if that is of interest to you, then please keep watching. So I thought that we should also spend some time talking about the effectiveness or ineffectiveness of my 2022 system. But before we can talk about my 2022 system, I feel like we have to talk about my 2021 system and every year before that. So prior to 2022, I was using Google Calendar as one of my planning systems, and you could consider me to be what they call a hybrid planner. So I've always used a couple of different planning systems, one being digital, one being non-digital. So the Google Calendar, or really Google Suite in general, like Google Keep, Google Tasks, all of that is what helped to keep my life organized anytime. Well, it still holds true today, but really, you know, I introduced that system, Google, some years ago, and it's been really helping to keep my life organized. So that pretty much is a system that's in place for family planning. So I have all of our recurring birthdays that we celebrate in our Google Calendar. I have any events that we're going to. I have any of our days off from work, like my days off of work, my husband's days off of work. I have stuff related to our pet in our Google Calendar. I have recurring reminders. I have our bills that recur monthly or whenever they're due in our Google Calendar. So I've always used the Google Calendar for that type of planning. So that's what I was using in 2021. Additionally, I was using a paper planner because I've always used a paper planner. I like using a paper planner really for one reason. I like to use a paper planner because it's accessible to me, even if I can't have my phone, and it's readily available to me to write down any notes or anything like that. I have not found a system, I'd never found a system where I could kind of keep notes and things digitally. So I always loved having a paper planner because of that. And I really love having a paper planner to plan out my day. Something about just having that paper planner to write out my daily to-dos and kind of map out what I want my day to look like has always sit right with my spirit. So prior to 2022, that was my system. I had a Google Calendar for planning all the things without having to think about them. Literally, when I got an invite for an event or when I get one, I just tap and it adds to my Google Calendar, which my husband can see. And I had a paper planner for really mapping out my day and writing down daily to-dos and notes and things like that. So that's what was happening in 2021 and many of the years before that. Let's talk about what happened in 2022. So in 2022, well, really December of 2021, I purchased an iPad, and I purchased a 12.9-inch Apple iPad Pro as a laptop replacement because my laptop had bit the dust. So once I kind of figured out what once something breaks and it's going to cost just as much to pay for to fix it as it would be to buy a new one or to buy a new system, that's when it's time to start really evaluating what you really need out of the system so you don't buy something that you don't need. So I was really thinking about what I use my laptop for, and I really mainly used it for editing videos, for creating thumbnails, and really a lot of business side hustle related things. And so that's why I decided to go with a very large powerhouse of an iPad. When I purchased that iPad, I also discovered what one might call digital planning in a tablet and using a stylus. And so that is something that I completely, dove into and I learned about, and I would go on in 2022 with using a digital planner on my iPad. So a digital planner on an iPad is different from like Google Calendar and any of those types of systems, because when you have an iPad and you have a stylus or an Apple Pencil, in my case, you are able to actually annotate on the planner. Like, you can bring up any worksheet, any sheet, any PDF is what it is, and you can sign it. So I can, sign contracts and send them back using my Apple Pencil. You can actually use it for, writing in a digital planner. So it's kind of a different system, but that's the system that I took into 2022. So I had my Google Calendar and I had my digital planner that I used via my iPad and my Apple Pencil. Now, the digital planner that I had originally is one that I had actually purchased from Etsy, but around June is when I actually decided to make my own planner. So from January to June, I was using a digital planner on my iPad that I had purchased, and I was using my Google Calendar. I was not using a paper planner. Again, in June, which kind of falls around when it would make sense because we let out for the summer in June, or technically May, I think. I work in public education. My husband does too. So I had no time but to create the perfect digital plan. I had nothing but time to create the perfect digital planner for me. Now I'm still working on that, but essentially that's what I began using. So in June, Google Calendar, and then the digital planner on my iPad that I had created. And I used that system up until October. Now, in October is when I realized something, and that is that our lives get far more hectic in Q4. Holidays, there's parties we're going to, parties we're putting on. We have a wedding anniversary. Q4 is right immediately following our birthdays, which are in September. In Q4, there are Christmas events and Christmas lights and, kind of trying to wrap up the goals that we probably didn't meet early on in the year. And so we're trying to meet those goals. We are trying to prep for the new year. I have friends who have birthdays in the new year. And, like right now we are finalizing plans for a trip for one of my friends in January. So it's just a lot that happens in Q4. And that's when I realized I think I need to switch up my system each year in Q4. It sounds a little bizarre, but truly that is when I feel very chaotic, very all over the place. And that's when having a streamlined system for planning that makes sense actually seems like a good time to implement. And so that's when I changed up my system. So in October, I ditched my iPad planner. That's probably what we should call it. I ditched my iPad digital planner, and I actually started using the Full Focus planner, which is a quarterly planner. So it made sense that I would use it for Q4. So that's what I've been doing. Now, I primarily use that for daily planning. I like to map out my day. The planner is perfect for daily planning. Well, it's a goal setting planner, so you can do a lot of things with it, but it's perfect for mapping out my day by the hour. There's a space for that. And then mapping out all of my to-dos and even my habits. So that's why I have been using that planner. I also started using Notion in October. I thought that I would give Notion a try. I can't lie, I've been liking Notion. I track books that I'm reading in Notion. I track contact information for people in Notion. I have our master to-do list in Notion. I like to keep that digital because, as you can tell, I'll switch up my paper planner in a minute, and it's annoying to kind of rewrite that same thing over and over. When it's digital, I can just copy and paste. I track all business income and expenses in Notion. I track our personal family income and expenses in Notion. I'm tracking a lot of things in Notion. I actually have a flip through or a review of the Full Focus planner that I'm referencing, and then also I have a tour of my Notion if you want to see exactly what all I'm tracking in Notion. But that was my system. That has been my system for Q4. Full Focus planner, Notion, Google Calendar. But that's not going anywhere, so that's a no-brainer. But that has been my system for Q4. It has been working out fine. And so let's talk about my system that I plan to put in place for 2023. Now, in 2023, I'm actually going back to my digital iPad planner. I do have a planner that I have created. It's not the one that I'm actually working on. It's a rendition of it. So basically, I put together a simple version of that planner, and I've entitled it the Simple Planner Volume 1. It is free, and it comes with a budget workbook. You can click the link in my bio to access it, but it's a completely free planner that is available to you at no cost. And again, I just created that as like a filler. I don't know how to explain it. It was a filler for me as I'm working on the larger planner. It's just something that I can toy around with in the meantime, and then I decided to offer it for free. So I'm going to be using the Simple Planner Volume 1. I've already begun, messing around in it. So I'm going to be using that starting in 2023. I, of course, am going to be using my Google Calendar, and then I'm also going to be using my Notion. They all serve 3 different causes. If you've checked out any of my digital planning videos or my Notion tour or my Google Calendar video, I have a video about that too, then you'll see that they do technically all serve different purposes. And I don't like to repeat planning of any sort. That's a waste of my time. So I make sure that as I was introducing the systems and utilizing them, that I was using the systems in the ways that they would make the most sense for me and my family. Let's talk about when Q4 gets here, or anytime before that. So I don't really know what next year will bring, but what I do know is that when life is hectic, or when Q4 hits here specifically, I am going to bust out this planner here. This is a passion planner. It was gifted to me not long ago by one of my planner friends, and it actually has a place for goal setting, and it has a place for monthly planning, which I don't care about, but what I do care about is the daily planning. So you can put your focus, some of your personal goals for the day, your personal tasks, your work tasks, and you can track your mood. And then, of course, most importantly, there's a place for hourly planning, as well as on the opposite page, we have what's called a space of infinite possibility, which I can use for note keeping and just jotting down those random notes that pop in my head or that I need to jot down throughout the day. Technically, I think this is a 3-month planner as well. So I think it's a quarterly planner. So it makes sense that I might use this in Q4. Or again, I think I'm just gonna bust it out anytime I feel like I need to bust it out. So you might be wondering why I would need to use this physical planner if I have an iPad planner or a digital planner. And the issue is that I have the Wi-Fi version of the iPad. I do not have the cellular version. But even if I had the cellular version, it wouldn't do me any good, because when I leave home, I'm not connected to Wi-Fi at all times. In fact, at work, I don't even have service 80% of the time, cell phone service. Sometimes I don't have Wi-Fi service either. So, because I go to different schools and I'm just bouncing around from different schools throughout the day or throughout the week. So I can't really rely on my iPad, whether it was Wi-Fi only or whether it was Wi-Fi and cellular. I can't rely on my iPad at all times. So that is why I use a physical planner. So when I'm in meetings, I can write down notes. When I am walking through the hallway, I can write down notes. When I'm in a building or in a room where there's no service, be it Wi-Fi or cellular, I can write down notes. So that is one thing to keep in mind if you are looking to get into digital planning. You might want to get the cellular, and you might want to get the cheapest iPad, first of all, because if you're just going to use it for digital planning, you definitely don't need the one that I have. But that's something to keep in mind, that you're going to need to have some type of connection, be it Wi-Fi or cellular. So you might be wondering why I would need to use this physical planner when I have the digital planner, and that is the reason. So Google Calendar will live on my computer. Notion lives on my computer, or my computer is also my iPad, which is also my digital planner. So I will be carrying around these 2 things. This is my Apple Pencil, my pencil, and my iPad. I'll be carrying around these 2 things to do my planning, unless the day is hectic or unless it's Q4, which means my entire life is hectic. Then I will be carrying around my 2 planners, well, laptop planner, my other planner, and then my Apple Pencil. So this is kind of what I'll be carrying around. So I just wanted to pop on here and share with you my 2023 planning system, mainly because it has changed and evolved over the past year. I mean, I realize it continues to evolve, but for the most part, while I might switch up in the past, I would switch up the type of planner. Like I might use a passion planner or a full focus planner or a happy planner or whatever, the system in and of itself stayed the same. I mainly use my paper planner functionally for writing down my daily to-dos, tasks, and notes. Okay guys, so that is gonna be it for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Do let me know what planning system you're gonna be using down in the comments. If you like this video, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and if you're liking what you're seeing, and I will catch you guys right back here in a few days in a brand new video. Bye guys.